Hello everyone at the International TEFL Academy. This is Alyssa Stahr speaking to you from my home office in Chicago, Illinois. I'm here today to wow you with my amazing marketing background and my adorable dog Maddox, who serves as my chief marketing and editorial supervisor. Getting to this wonderful place in my life hasn't been an easy road, but it's certainly been a rewarding one. As I told you in my cover letter, I applied to your school in 2013 after a web search. And Shay helped me through the scary ordeal of basically quitting my life, which included a job as a content marketing manager at the Arlen Group in St. Louis, Missouri. I grew up in a small farm town in Missouri, and I was the first in my family to graduate from college. Even though I stayed in the farm town for the first 18 years of my life, I couldn't wait to get to the big city of St. Louis to attend college. I used to watch Total Request Live on MTV and dream about New York City. Once I turned 18, I would get this cheap plane ticket on Priceline, hop on a plane for a day, and just go there just to walk around and come home that night to get my fix. So I guess I have MTV to blame for my travel bug. I've always had a backup plan throughout my career. I've always had more than one job at a time. My first job was at a drag racing magazine as a clerk to get my foot in the door. And in 6 months, I was their managing editor. 15 years later, I'm still in contact with them for friendship, mentorship, and also to help them out if needed. I think that's the first lesson in marketing, both yourself and a company. Never burn your bridges and always serve the other person before yourself. Always ask, what can I do for you, not the other way around. It's a small world out there, and marketing is an individual just as much as a team sport. Throughout the next couple of years, I always seem to be on the ground up of something, so it's fitting that this marketing coordinator position is a new role for your academy. My first job out of college was a managing editor at a bridal magazine and a family magazine, which I ended up being the only person on the editorial staff, so I ended up being the jack of all trades that I pretty much am still today. The sole editor, writer, marketer, which then we didn't have social media, so I had to be really creative in the marketing strategy, such as doing a bunch of trade shows, cake dives, promotions, really reaching out to the community in any way I could. I also implemented the communication and marketing internship program in conjunction with St. Louis University, my alma mater, where I hired and mentored 7 college students and spoke at any career fair I could get my hands on. This was a great way to not only find quality students, but to market the magazine. And I hired one of those very interns 10 years later as my executive editor at Vape last year. I also spoke at every event the magazine sponsored and made multiple television appearances on the magazine's behalf. My publisher even joked that I was the face of the magazine, and she made me the president of the fun committee, which there I was responsible for coming up with monthly themes and team building exercises. Being a local editor at Patch and my position as content marketer at that boutique agency, the Arlen Group, also were brand new positions with really lofty strategy goals and numbers goals. I launched my Patch site within 3 weeks of my hire date. I ended up with 11 blogging social media clients under my umbrella at the Arlen Group. Additionally, I was the main contact for the National Honey Board, which I ended up continuing throughout my time in China. I blogged a ton weekly for their 5 Made with Honey sites, traveled to assist, planned logistics for the Honey Summit that took place here in Chicago, traveled nationally for video shoots for their sites. I did landing page and wireframe strategy. I wrote white papers. And possibly the most fun I had was at Natural Products Expo West, where I came back with a record number of contacts for the brand, and I met Phil Keegan from my favorite show, The Amazing Race. Even though I know your position isn't trade show marketing, and really neither was the Honey Board, as this was the only trade show they went to in a year's time, I firmly believe that the idea of foregoing a booth at trade shows and walking the floor can be a key to success in marketing in that environment. You're going to the people, not missing out on the droves who may walk past your booth. If you have the money to have both, however, that's always great too. Somewhere along the line, I started traveling internationally, and I had more than 10 countries under my belt by then. I loved my job, but I needed something more. That's when I found your company and started taking online classes. During this time, I also worked about 60 hours a week between my full-time job and freelancing for various companies. I also became a brand marketer for Barefoot Wine, traveling to various events and stores in the area. This is something I still do sporadically in Chicago, and I love it. I couldn't do this video, obviously, without talking about my time in China. Everything fell into place and signs popped up everywhere that this is what I needed to do with my life in 2014. I still had my job with the Honey Board. I found a temporary home for Maddox. I dyed my hair black, and I went, excited to teach teenagers English. Imagine my surprise when I walked into the training room and we were learning how to teach the words apple and orange. I raised my hand and said something to the effect of, shouldn't high school-age children know these words by now? I was then informed that the classes were ages 3 to 14. I didn't have a choice in the matter. It was a very specific question I had asked before I left, especially since my practicum hours were with college students only. But I was hooked and they knew it. That's one of the many aspects I would have to learn in my time in China: adaptation and patience. I ended up being the toughest, most rewarded person at the end of this experience ever, and I embraced it fully, especially when I knew my time was coming to an end and I was committing to another job with Vape stateside. I ended up leaving with this note on my last night from Rain, one of my young New Parade students. I bawled profusely on my final walk home, and I think about my kids every day, wondering how they are, what they are learning, and who they will be as adults. How could I not want to share everything I learned with your potential students today? It would be such a blessing, as my stories are definitely endless. As my life has come full circle, my friend who I met at Drag Racing Online started a vaping magazine. He asked me to be his chief while I was still in China. Sure enough, here I was again, agreeing to a startup. But this was on a much larger scale. We grew faster than I ever could have imagined. I started all of the social media pages and planning strategy, did the marketing and PR, wrote the editorial, and as we grew, I hired our writing and design staff. I am most proud of writing the first Chinese and European issues in my industry solely by myself, and for being the first female editorial director in that industry. Traveling and reporting on and marketing trade shows, conferences, and factory tours was a thrill, as I've been to numerous cities, including Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Miami, Pittsburgh, San Antonio, Los Angeles, Paris, Amsterdam, and finally Moscow in December, where I was asked to be a keynote speaker. Vape began distributing in October in Barnes & Noble, a true testament to our hard work and success. And now here we are with me seeing your post on the Facebook page I followed for 3 years. I hope to bring everything I've learned about marketing, landing pages, blogging, SEO, social media, editorial, interviewing, mentorship, friendship, and travel to your team. As you can see from my application materials, I am a workhorse. My work is part of who I am. I have a ton of pride in taking a position and building it to what the company not only expects of me, but beyond. It's a thrill to set a goal and achieve it, and even more to make a difference in someone else's life. It's a huge role to fill, but I know that I'm the right person for this job. Thanks for watching, and safe travels.